Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
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 Hello, good evening.
Actually, I will just before say good evening without deciding, but it's fine. Yeah, I was waiting for the meet class to get filled. So how are we having 101 now? But anyway, that was what I was waiting for before I commence the class so that I won't have to admit while I am taking the class. So, and for those that were on YouTube, I was not saying anything, so you could not hear anything either. So, and that was what happened. So, welcome to performance management class once again. I believe this is our second class. And a quick one: if you were not in class, or you maybe you've not watched the video, or you were not in class, or you don't even have any idea of what we did last week, and if you are on Google Meets, you can let me say raise up your hand. Let's see the percentage of those that were not in class, and the percentage of those that were around. And if you're on YouTube, I don't know how do we signify it. Maybe like you can just press the is it like or love button now. Let's see how many of us were not in class last week, or worse still, you have not gone through the video at all to see what we talked about, because Apparently, we are still going to need the knowledge of what we did in the last time. We will need the knowledge here again. I can see, I can see 20 ants, 23, 23, 24 ants. I mean, that's a, the number keep going up. Not a good sign. That's 27. It means 27% of people that are here now 28. Uh, do not know what we did last week, and which was the basic or what led to variance analysis itself, because you have to understand the concept of standard costing. You want to know what's the standard, because this right here we keep talking about the standard. How do we get those standards? Okay, but it's not a problem. I will look for a way to mix the definite. I mean, I might not be as deep as we did last week. I mean, you just try as much as possible to make you understand that we are getting the standards compared to. So yeah, you can put your hands down now. Uh, we'll look into it. So let's just go straight. Yes, you will pardon me this evening. You will not mind my slide. I was thinking my class was going to be 9, but factors the other factors that was considered. I had to switch my class to 7 o'clock, so my slide is not 100% complete. But before I share it back to the class, I will I will make amendments where necessary. So variance analysis, which is I can most loud question for actually variance analysis. Please, if your hand is still up, kindly put it down, except you have something to say. Um, Uh, by that, I was referring to Kalu, Messi, and Oluchi, Emanuela. Or do you have something to say? Okay, thanks. Omolara, Olashope, and Undu in your bunk. Okay, please, you can lower your hand. For those on YouTube too, I got what I wanted, so I'll just take everything together anyway. So when we last week we talked about standard costing, and what standard costing was majorly, or what it was big on, was our budget. We want to know if I plan to do this, how much is going to cost me, how many units of this do I need. I remember we used an example of what was that again? I think for was it bonds or eight bonds? I don't know. That we said, oh, if I want to make say 50 purpose or 10 purpose, how many bags of flour or how many cups of flour will I need, and how much is it going to cost me? That thing you are doing is you are trying to compute your standard cost. So typically you want to do 10 pop off. You feel like, oh, I'm going to need 2 cups of flour, and then flour costs 50 naira per cup. So definitely I'm going to need 100 naira for flour. That's like 50 naira per cup. Then multiply by your 2 cups. So that's for the material, and for the labor, you might be, oh, I will need to employ somebody that will help me to mix. And the person might most likely 1,000 naira for every hour that the person works for. And to mix 10 for 4, it's going to take like 2 hours. Then all you are just doing is you're trying to create. Now, when you are not done with that budget, we all know that budgets are based on estimates. I think this is what will happen. I think this is what I will need. I think this is the best thing. If I get to this place, this is how much they will sell it. If I get to this, if I Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
We
please
can hear you now, sir.
someone should give me like a minute. I need to uh attend to a call, please.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
All right. Please mute your mic. Oh.
All right. Apologies. I had to attend to the call. So yeah, what was I saying? So I was saying after you are done with your budget, I'm sorry. So after you are done with your budget, the reality is oftentimes are different from what you planned, especially in this Tinubu's regime. I mean, the last time you went to the market, is obvious you are obviously not getting uh what you want at the last price you got it. I mean, you could buy this thing at 15 naira today, and you went for the same, you are going for the same thing tomorrow, and they tell you it's 17 naira, blah blah blah. And if you ask them, they will tell you, are you not in this country? So I mean, the reality oftentimes is different from our budget. So that is why we often have variances. I mean, you can make your plans, you can be meticulous with your plans, but I mean, you are not the alpha and omega of your plan. Your plans or the result are dependent on um, what you will get in the market. So that is what brought about variance analysis. In simple terms, variance analysis is just the difference between actual and what do we call it? And the budgets or something, or what we call the standard cost card. So that's just the variance. So now your variance can either be favorable or adverse. Let me pick uh, who will volunteer to be giving us example. I don't like having to please. I need somebody to volunteer. I need somebody to be giving me examples. No one. No one. Okay. If no one is volunteering, let me just. Hey, was anybody saying anything?
I said examples of what?
Oh, okay. No, no, no. I will ask you for example. Now, should I take that as you are volunteering?
So we don't
No, it's just
understand the example.
Can I use
no, I'm not asking for any
Okay.
particular example as of now. I just need somebody that I can interact with when I need one.
sir? Can I use something as illustration, sir?
Huh?
Can I use something as example as illustration, sir?
I don't have anything in mind currently. I just need somebody that I can call. I don't want it to be
As
multiple
an
people.
illustration, sir. Illustration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Assuming we have already planned that want to buy a bag of rice as, let's say, 90,000
Oh,
naira.
sorry. I was going to, as time goes on with my explanation, what I
Yeah.
plan to do is, let's say I want to explain this thing. I might need like a practical example. So I just need someone that can tell, okay, give me something that you are producing. Say, how much do you think you will get this thing in the market? You understand? It's just like an interaction. I don't necessarily need like an holistic example. Like, do
Okay,
you get me?
Okay, but
I
can you
get your point now.
Okay.
So why don't we just leave the
All right,
floor
sir.
open?
No, I don't want it to be because of chorus answer. I don't want it to be open. I just need someone
and
that
we can
we can.
Okay, no
actually raise our
problem.
body.
Oh, okay. Let's go with the hand raising then. So let's start with the favorable and adverse. Here I will take on all the example I will use myself. So like I mentioned, variance occurs when your budget is different from your actual. I mean, what you eventually did is different from what you planned. I mean, you can go to the market with your budget. Say, I want to buy 2 cups of rice at 200 naira each, and that should be 400 naira. But you get there, you see, oh, I like this rice. This rice is, I might not be able to get this rice again in the next 1 2 years. So it's better I buy 5 cups instead. I mean, as far as you've done something like that, your budget is not different from your actual, because you plan to buy two, but you're buying five. And at this point, I'm not even considering the price. Now, at the same time, you can budget to buy two for at 20 naira each, but you get into the market, they are telling you that rice is now uh expensive. They've closed border and blah blah blah. Rice is now 100 naira. So there is a difference between the quantity you bought. You plan to buy two, you are buying five, and now there's also difference between your price. You plan to buy it at 15 naira, they are not selling it at 100 naira. So all those things are what we call variances. Now your variance can either be favorable or adverse. To understand the concept of favorable and adverse, I don't want you to cram. I mean, I want you to understand the basics of this favorable and adverse, because oftentimes that leads to confusion. I mean, you can do your calculations, and that's because we have various formula. We have up to 4 different formulas that you can have for this variance, and I can only take one. So just in case you are going to another textbook and they use another variance, so you now wonder, is this favorable or adverse? Now, to simply put, for favorable variance, you just know that what I planned to do, I eventually did. Favorable variance, you just know that what I planned to do, I eventually did less. Say I planned to buy five, I bought four. It is favorable in the sense that I will keep more money. That's when you have a favorable variance. You have a favorable variance when you get to keep change, but you have an adverse variance when you have to bring out from your extra money, from your reserve money, to complete the transaction. It is an adverse variance. But say now let's say I plan to buy 2 cups of rice at at 15 naira. I'm still sticking to the same example. So definitely my budget living home will have been 100 naira. Let's say I left home with 100 naira, but of course I have reserve in my pocket. But when I got to the market, I decided to buy three instead of buying two, keeping it at the 15 naira. It means I will have to bring out extra 15 naira to complete the transaction. Now let's say I'm buying three now, so 3 times 50, I get 115 naira. So I'll bring out extra 15 naira and pay the seller. So in that case, I'm definitely having an adverse variance because I have spent more than my budget. But if you get to the market and they told you that, oh, rice is now 14 naira, let's say something happened and rice is now 14 naira, and you're still sticking to your two. If you buy two at 14 naira, it means that you budget the 100 naira that you budget, you will still have 20 naira change. So in that case, you are having a favorable variance. So that is what everything here is all about. Just remember, when you have to keep change, it is favorable, but when you have to bring out extra, it is an adverse variance. So moving on to the various variances that we can have. Now, it is not in this material, but just know that every component, I mean every single component of your profit statement can have variance. You know, our profit statement format, the regular one is your sales less your what do we call it? Less your cost. Your cost can either be can be a combination of your direct material, direct labor, variable overhead, and fixed overhead. Those four makes up your cost. All of them can have variance. Your sales itself can have variance. Direct material can vary. Direct labor can also vary. Um, Variable overhead can also vary, as well as your fixed overhead. So we'll be picking them one after the other, starting with the direct material variance. Now, ideally, this particular one, most time or often time, you don't need it, but just for the sometimes sake, we are going to talk about it. I'll talk about these two before I pick the cost variance. So the direct material variance. Now this one is just the price variance may be calculated for the material purchased or material used. Usually it is calculated at the point of purchases, and this allows the material inventory to be carried at standard cost. Now what this one is just saying is, I will not be reading from the slide again. I will just be doing the explanation. You can just go through it again just in case you want to grab the wordings. But what material price variance is just saying that though, when I was doing my budget, I plan to buy, let me still stick to my example, 2 cups of rice, and I plan to buy it at 15 naira. So what material price variance is looking at is how much did you buy the rice? Now, at this point, I don't even want to know how many cup of rice did you eventually buy. If you like, buy 500, but at what price? So I am only concerned about what is the difference between the price that you budgeted and the price that you are actually paying, or the price you eventually paid. So if you look at the formula, now one thing I want you to note throughout, actually for a direct material, direct labor, and variable overhead, one thing I want you to notice is that whatsoever variance we are computing, say direct material price here, that will be the one that will change in your formula. So now this formula says that material price variance is equals to sorry, what is something something okay, sorry. Material price variance is saying that your actual quantity minus, no, something seems
I
off
think
here.
it's supposed to
Yeah,
be the
I mixed it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mixed the formula. This is supposed to be here, and this should be control. Yeah, exactly. Uh, I know it's not jiving. So your material price variance is your standard quantity multiplied by your standard price minus no. What's going on? I think it should be the other way. Should have used my regular formula. Standard price, blah blah blah. So yeah, this is actually the problem. So it is standard. Mm, mm, mm. It is this way. It is actually no standard again. Standard. Yep. Good. Yeah. So it is the standard, not the actual. So what this one is saying is that, going through still sticking to my example, 2 cups, remember, at 15 naira. So at this point, I want to know, you said your budget is 2 cups. We all agree. So your standard quantity will be 2 cups. I remember from our standard costing, you say whatever your quantity is what will be in your budget. You said standard quantity. Now, my price, which is the standard price, is a 15 naira. Again, I will now ask you, how much did you buy this rice eventually? If you say, I bought the rice for 17 naira, again, I will now check. The 2 cups that you eventually bought at 17 naira, if you multiply this, let's say you get 2 multiplied by 70, that's 140. Compared to the other side, which is this budget side, your original plan was to buy 2 cups at 15 naira, meaning you are expected to spend 100 naira, but you eventually bought 2 cups at 17 naira, which is now your actual price. Now notice that it is only the price side that is changing. Both of them has standard quantity. You have to multiply both of them with the standard. Now, anyone you are computing is what you change, multiplied by the other one, which will be standard. So if you get to a quantity variance, or what we call the usage variance, it is the quantity that will change, or multiply by your budgeted price. So always remember that whatever you are computing the variance for is the factor that will change. And what remain constant, the other one remain constant, and it must be the budgeted, not the actual. So in this case, our price variance is going to be your standard quantity multiplied by standard price minus your standard quantity again, but the other one will be multiplied by your actual price. So when you get this variance, you know either you have favorable or adverse. You will get favorable if your standard price is greater than your actual price. So if you plan to buy it at, you plan to buy it at, if you plan to buy it at 14 naira and you bought it at 13 naira, in that case, we say you have a favorable one because you get to keep 10 naira. But if you plan to buy it at 14 naira and you bought it at 15 naira, it is adverse in the sense that you have to pay extra 10 naira or whatever the price difference may be. So that is for our price variance. Ugochi Obina, your hands up. Do you have a question?
Yes, you just said something now that I didn't get very well. You were saying something about instead of trying to cram formulas that you should just take notice of some things. And you said something about is only this one that will change and this one will not change. Like I didn't really get that. And I would really like you rephrase, please.
Okay. So I was saying that in this case, we are calculating the price variance. Simply put, the difference between our prices, that's what we are calculating. So, and if you look at each side of the bracket, or let me say, for clarity, let me decide to put this in the bracket. Please mute yourself. Now, if you look at the 2 brackets, notice that we have 2 variables in each of the brackets, the quantity and the price. Here we also have quantity and the price. But since we are dealing with price here, one of them has to change and one of them has to remain constant. So the one that is remaining constant, the one that we are changing will be whatsoever we are calculating the variance for. So in this case, we are calculating for price variance. So in your two brackets, the prices will be the figure that will change, in the sense that one of them will be the standard price and the other will be the actual price, while the quantity side remains the same. And as it remains the same, don't forget, it must be the standard or the budget, either of the two, or anyone you decide to call it. Do you understand me now?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. So moving on to
Please, I have a question.
okay.
Yes, sir. So when we are talking about the price variance,
Yeah.
this thing is the standard quantity relate to how much material should have been used for actual production. Then in this case, we are talking about price. So price variance is all about purchasing, not production efficiency. So it's supposed to be actual quantity and not standard quantity. If maybe,
I don't know if that's a question or a contribution, but it is definitely not actual quantity. Now let me tell you, what was I going to say? Okay. So actual quantity. Hold
Again,
on.
sir. Sorry
Wait,
to
what?
interrupt.
Hold on. I see where you get when you prepare material in a rush, but actually looking at this, there should be three. We have this here, we have this here, we have this here. Sorry, this should come into us. So where's the actual price times actual quantity again? Yep. Oh, balance. No, just coming 3 times is wrong. Okay. Yeah, I think I was the one that made the mistake. It is the actual. It is the actual. I was explaining the quantity variance, which is under the what was that? Under the advanced variance. That's where we have. So this is actually actual. Now let me quickly go down to a shortcut. Let me create a new slide, and let's do Control Z. Let's create a new slide. There is this app that you can use to get this formula. Now, what is it? Blood group or genotype? Which one is SS, AS, AA? Is it blood group or genotype?
Genotype.
Genotype.
Now, this is a faster way to know your answer. Prices or rates will always be AS minus AA. I'll say explain. Usage or efficiency will always be SS minus AS, while the costs will be your SS minus AA. Yeah. So let me use this to explain. I think this might even save me a whole lot of explanation. I might just use this and then we'll go straight to the question. So now you can get the formula for direct material, direct labor, and what's the last one? Variable overhead. Even if you look at this slide, I did not talk about variable overhead at all because we have the same formula for direct labor and variable overhead. You are using the same thing all through, word for word. So there was no point explaining variable overhead again. Now, what these two represent? I mean, these three. This is talking about the price as in for material, and we use rates when it comes to labor. You don't price human. We call it the labor rate instead. And here we use material. We don't use human. You talk about human efficiency, and the cost is just talking about the total amount you spent or you budgeted. So talking about the price now, I said we have. So one thing that I want you to note, we all know that in the hierarchy of the genotype, A is the strongest, right? Am I
Yes, sir.
correct? Yeah, then we have AS, then SS. So one thing you should notice is that you will only subtract the strong from the weak. I mean, this is one arc that I came up with. You are to subtract the strong from the weak. That is, if you have two genotypes, say AS and AA, the AA will be what you are subtracting. So what this AS actually stands for is your actual now notice the capital letters. So actual quantity multiplied by your standard price minus actual quantity is times actual price. Yeah, Control C. And I want to see here also. But this time should be standard about this standard. Standard. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just doing this like I mean Lagos traffic can almost end your life. So okay. So I was explaining the AS and AA for the price. So we said for price, you subtract the strongest from the next one, which is your AS, when you are dealing with price variance. So and for our um AS, we say is the actual quantity times the standard price. That is quantity first, price follows. And for the AA, actual quantity multiplied by your actual price, which is going to give you your AA. So that brings us to the formula we had here initially. That means I was correct initially, but I mixed it up for quantity, material quantity variance. That's even under sales. But anyway, so the actual quantity here. Now, the reason why we are using the actual
Am I the only one not hearing him? Hello?
I can't hear you.
Okay, it's everywhere, no problem.
I think it's his network.
He'll be back shortly. It's a suspicion. Yes.
This class is so quiet.
I can't hear him any longer.
He's not saying
It's like
anything. There is an
He say he's
explanation
coming
he's
now.
trying to put.
He say he's coming.
Let's just give him time now. Maybe he's trying to arrange his lecture notes since he said he's seeing some mistakes there. Maybe he's trying to put everything in order.
Hello, am I the only one not hearing him?
We can't hear him too.
Okay.
I can't hear him. It's not audible.
Not only you, it's every.
I think he's trying to get things in order before.
I can't hear him.
And now the issue is if I leave, someone will come in. I can't leave. Please, someone should call him back to come back.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's better we exercise patience.
That's just it. It will soon be here, hopefully.
I will reserve the space for you.
Do your brother skipper, you can leave so that you can have to call him.
We'll reserve the space for you. Just carry your chair when you're going. When you come back with it. But we're not much, sir. 70 something, so you can still leave for some minutes and come back.
Like, it will shock you. Just go 5 minutes. If I 1 minute, they will full everywhere.
You can join through Google or YouTube.
We'll gather there.
He's
Good
back.
evening,
Osai is
welcome.
back.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I was even off. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
we hear
We
you.
We
Yes,
can
sir.
hear you, sir.
I hear you very well. How long have I been
I
gone?
can hear you.
Like 20
But
minutes ago.
Almost 20 minutes. Jesus. I mean,
sir.
I was doing the whole explanation, and I was just like, I was not
Wow.
even getting feedback. Like, oh, jeez. I don't even know where I stopped now, but anyway.
Yeah, you are trying to explain the material price and variance.
I was still on that one, imagine. And I've even explained the efficiency. I was now going to ask, is there any question?
Mr.
Then I
Ola,
realized, yep.
Mr. Ola, please bold your sheet on YouTube. Bold it on YouTube. You need to bold it on YouTube.
How do I board on YouTube? Something like this. I don't even know. Anyway, I'll try to zoom it in. So okay, so apologies for that. I mean, I did not even know I got disconnected along the line. So let me share my screen. This someone should confirm my screen is up.
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
Oh no, you can see it.
I don't know. I don't know if people on YouTube can see it clearly now. Is anyone viewing on YouTube currently? I don't have access to YouTube now. Can anyone confirm it is fine on YouTube? No, they don't want to.
If someone can leave or go and check YouTube.
You don't need to leave. You can just minimize. I mean, if you leave,
Yes, sir, I've confirmed it is okay on YouTube.
It is okay now.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
thank you.
Yeah.
So, God knows where. Yeah, I don't know if it's network or whatever kicked me out. But you said I was trying to explain price. Okay. So do you all get it to the part where I mentioned where I started the AS minus EA?
Please show that slide, sir.
Huh?
Show the slide for that genotype. Know your genotype.
It's still on.
Is on this screen. Oh, network is really going to mess up this night.
I think it's a network, sir, because I can see it from my hand.
Ah, okay.
Maybe I need to confirm.
I can see the slide from my end.
So I think it's a network.
So yeah, I don't know how much you got for the price, but I will just use a label to explain the price. I was explaining usage to myself anyway, but the usage variance was just talking about the difference between the budgeted quantity and the actual quantity. We plan to save time now. We are 1 hour down. Let me switch back to my initial plan. Who is volunteering? Who is volunteering for examples? Is there anyone? I need someone to volunteer. Okay, yeah. Florence. Okay. Florence, are you with me? Florence. I need another person. I don't think you can hear me.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, Moses.
Yes, I can volunteer.
Okay, yeah. So we are trying to understand how price, usage variance, and cost variance actually work. So you are going to be our man that is going to the market. You want to so let me ask you, what do you like to make? Maybe cook or anything?
Let me
or
say.
What would you like market to buy?
To buy? Okay. Let me say I want to go and buy. Let's say bag of rice.
Okay. So you plan to sell now. I'm taking it as a retailer now. You plan to buy bag of rice. Pick any random quantity. How many bags of rice do you want to buy at what price?
Is it 10 bags?
You plan to buy 10 bags at what price?
At 50,000.
At 50,000. So that means your total budget for rice will be 500,000.
Yes, 500.
Now I am the seller, but now I am telling you that rice is currently are 60,000.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I told you that due to the fact that there's scarcity of rice, if you don't buy a rice now, you might not be able to buy rice till the next 2-3 months because a lot is happening in the market. So then you decided to buy 15 instead. Now note that you have changed your quantity, and at the same time the price has changed.
Exactly.
So we now want those differences, we want to explain them as price variance, as usage variance, and as cost
Quantity
variance.
variance.
So let's
Okay.
start with the cost, then I will now break it down to the price and usage. Now this cost variance is just saying that please mute for a while.
Okay, sir.
This cost variance is just saying that what was your budget? What did you spend? That is just the cost variance. Either due to quantity difference or either due to price difference. At this point, I don't even care. I just want to know how much were you supposed to spend on rice? How much did you spend? And if you remember, our budget said 10 at 50,000, but our actual was 15 at, oh, let me pick a random figure. Let's say let me pick a let's pick 20 at 15,000. No, 20 at 60,000.
20 at 60.
Yeah, 20 at 60. So eventually, it means that if you are buying 20 at 60,000, it means you are spending that's 1.2 million.
1.2. Yes.
Yeah. Remember, your budget was 500,000.
Exactly.
Now,
yes,
if
sir.
I ask you, how did we get the 500? It's simply put, your standard quantity, which was your budgeted quantity of was that 10 multiplied by your budgeted price, which is your standard price now, which was 50,000. Then we now check the difference between you eventually now bought 20 at 60,000. So that is why we have the two actuals on this side. Now, if you look at it, your total cost variance will now be 700,000 because your plan was to buy 500,000, was to spend 500,000 on rice, and you eventually spent 1.2 million. So in the broad term, we can say you overspent by 700,000. We should all agree that that is an adverse variance.
Yes, sir.
Because you had to bring out extra 700,000 to
as against 500 budgeted.
Good. Now, I now want to split that 700,000. How much of this 700,000 did I spend simply because the price changed? How much did I spend simply because my quantity changed? Do you understand me?
Yes, we are getting you, sir.
Okay. So now, let's pick the price. We said we are buying it at how much is that? 50,000. But we eventually bought it at 60,000.
60,
so
which
it
is
means
10.
that due to that price variance, we are spending how much difference? So we bought 60 units. I mean 20, don't forget.
Yes.
20 multiplied by our original plan. If we had bought the right at our original plan, we will have spent, even though we bought 20 now, we will have spent 1 million, which is going to be multiplied by 500,000. Right?
Yes, sir.
Then we eventually spent 20, and that was 1.2 million, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So it shows that simply because of the price difference of 10,000, which is like the standard price minus the actual price, we are spending extra 200,000.
Yes, sir.
So that is what what price variance is saying. Price variance is just calculating how much are we spending extra or how much are we saving extra just because of the price difference. And that is why we have the actual quantity multiplied by your standard price minus actual quantity multiplied by actual price. Now, don't forget, we said that we spent 700,000 extra. Now, we've seen that, oh, it was because of price. That's why I spent 200,000 extra. Where did the remaining 500,000 come from? Now, that brings us to the usage. Now, the usage is now testing your budgeted quantity. How far did it vary from your actual quantity? So initially, we planned to buy just 10 bags of rice and fiam. We are off the market. But one thing led to another thing led to one thing. We bought 20. Now looking at the price the quantity difference rather. So if we multiply our standard quantity, which was the original price, the original quantity rather, by our initial budget for price, which is 500,000. So we are saying that normally this is what we are expected to spend, 500,000. But because we changed our quantity, it's just as if I asked you that, oh, now that you've seen that price has changed to, rice is now surplus, or you have to quickly get as much as possible, quickly go home and redraft your budget and change it to, instead of you planning to buy 10, quickly give me a new budget. You will have gone home. When you are doing your budget again, let's assume you don't even know what the actual price is. If you just change your budget and say, I'm not buying 10 again, now let me buy 20 bags, assume you are still doing the budget. In that case, you will have chosen how many?
20.
You would have gone for 20
bags.
And at that, you will still be using your budgeted price, right?
The standard prices.
Yeah, that is why it remains the standard price. It's just as if you are redrafting your budget. So your standard quantity minus times your standard price, which is 500k, now minus the actual quantity. Now you eventually bought 20. Multiply it with your standard price, you should get 1 million. That's 20 multiplied by 50,000.
50. Yes, sir. 1 million.
You get 1 million. Now if you subtract 500,000 from 1 million, you have 500,000 adverse. Because you plan to buy 10, you are now buying 20. It means you are bringing out money from your pocket to pay for the extra 20. So you have an adverse. Now remember, we already have 200 adverse because of price. Now we're having 500 adverse because of usage of quantity.
Yes, sir.
Now that is what gives us the total of 700,000 that we have here. Now note that in most cases, in fact, in 99% of the times, once you calculate price and usage, you don't calculate cost. What you just do is add the two together and you get this final answer. So that is why most times you don't get to calculate cost variance. Or some question will be structured in a way that you don't have to compute price and usage. Just go for cost directly and you get your variance. So we'll talk more about when to pick which of them when we get to our reconciliation, because we still have to reconcile our budget when we go to the broad icon question. When we start solving question, you get to relate more, just in case you are not really grabbing it now. So a quick one, let's just quickly do a quick example for material variance. So this one says a unit of products P123 has a standard cost of 5 liters of material A at 3 naira per liter. So that means we need our standard cost for this product is to buy 5 liters at 3 naira per liter. So that means we are going to need that 15 naira. So that's even here. So the standard cost, the standard direct material cost per unit. I believe those that were in class should understand what this part is saying now. Assuming I asked you to compute your standard cost card, and I say, what is your standard material cost? You know that it is your standard kg per unit, or say standard liter, as the case may be now. You need 5 liters per unit times 3 naira per liter. So you should have your 15 naira. In a particular month, okay, now, in a particular month, 2,000 units of products P123 were manufactured. These used 10,400 liters of material A, which eventually cost 33,600. So they said calculate the direct material usage variance, but I want it to be price and usage variance. So for our solution, let's say direct material price variance, we said is our AQ. This is how I write in the exam. AQSP AQAP. I believe we all understand this is actual quantity multiplied by standard price minus actual quantity multiplied by actual price. Now, going back to the question, they said our actual price should be what again? The question said actual quantity. Yep. So 2,000 units of P123 were manufactured, and this used 10,400 liters of material A. So it means that for this material, our actual liter that we bought was actually 10,400 liters. 10,400 liters. So in this case, so we can say our actual quantity is going to be 10,400 for those that so 10,400 liters. That's our actual quantity. Then multiply by the standard price. So we go back and check. How much did we say we are going to buy the material? We said we are buying it at 3 naira per liter.
33,600.
Thank you. So that'll be 3 naira per liter. Then minus the actual again. Let me just do a copy and paste. Now, from this question, how do you think we can get our actual price? Because if you look at it, we were not given the actual price. Now, there are two things you can do in this situation. You can either go through the short or the long route. Anyone is allowed, and you will not be penalized for anyone. Now, I told you that normally this thing should be 3 naira per liter. But the same me came back and said, sorry, I'm not sure this thing is 3 naira per liter. But I just know that I bought 10,400 liter at 33 naira 600. So of course, to get the amount per liter, I just have to do basic mathematics. Divide 33,600 by 10,400 liters. So what do we have?
That is 3.2. 3.2.
So 3.2. So it means that 3.23. Or is that what you're saying? This
Yes, sir.
3.2
Yes, sir.
or
3.3. 3.23. Yes. 3.23.
Thank you. So it means that this, I told you that you should have bought this thing, or I plan to buy this thing at 3 naira, but eventually I bought it at 3.23. Now, if you don't want to go through the long route of doing division and multiplication, just know that anytime you have this absolute figure here, they told you that I bought 500,000 units at so amount. Just copy and paste that figure here. Minus 33,600. Now, why are we doing this? Because if I had gone through the route of dividing, I said, I want to know how much does it cost me per unit? Because that is what we get if we are calculating the actual price per liter. So you do 33,600 by 10,400, you get 3.23. Now, if you come back to your solution, you will still multiply that 10,400 by 3.23 again, which will still bring you back to the original figure you divided. So why bother dividing? So you can just bring the figure right here if you have it in total. Assuming they mentioned that this use 10,400 liter, which costs 3.3 naira per liter. So in that case, you do your 10,400 minus multiply by 3.3. I hope we are clear.
Yes, sir. Right.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what will be the answer here?
That is 31,200 minus 33,600.
I just need the absolute figure. I just need the figure. 31,200. That will be
2,400.
4. Okay.
Adverse.
2,400. Now I don't want to mention if it's adverse or not. I will just should I just ask randomly or let's save them. Let me just go ahead. In the next class we'll have more time. I'll be well prepared for the next class. So this is going to be adverse. And why is it adverse? You remember we said we were going to pay 3 naira. But how much did we pay? According to calculation, we paid 3.23. So it means we are bringing out extra 2.3 naira to pay for our material. So that's your direct material price variance, and that's the actual quantity minus this. All right. So the other one is going to be usage variance. So here we are after how many units were you supposed to use? How many units did you use? Is this now aligned? So why is this? So going back to our question, our standard now good. It gets a bit trickier here. Our standard material was supposed to be 5 liters at of material A at 3 naira per liter. For now, we have used 10,400 liters. Gosh, I don't like having to do this. Yeah, okay. But we have used 10,400 liters. Now, how do we scale up this 5 liter? I mean, it will be a no-brainer for us to do to say, oh, my budget was 5 liter and I eventually used 10,400. So you are subtracting 5 from 10,400. I mean, that's going to be a whole lot of difference. But the one thing that you should notice is that they said this 5 liter is just for 1 unit. So they said a unit of product P123 has a standard cost of 5 liters. Again, this is thing I'm getting. Now that we are now producing 2,000, so for you to get your standard quantity, all you have to do is scale up. So we do you scale it up. So you've said, oh, 1, 5. So now that we are dealing with 20, so we are no longer in that territory of 1 unit. We now want to see, okay, based on the standard, which is the normal way. The normal way is to use 5 to produce 1. Now, what is going to be the standard quantity to produce 2,000 units? So since 1 unit is now, let me just chip in the one secret formula or one formula. Just know that your standard quantity is your intentional. Your standard quantity per unit all multiplied by try see actual total production. So this is how to get your standard quantity. The standard quantity will be your standard quantity per unit multiplied by your actual total production. And don't say because it's supposed to be budget, why are we multiplying by actual? What you are doing is you are just scaling up the budget, or you are doing what we call budget flex. You are flexing the budget. I gave you the budget for 1, but now I'm asking you to check what is the difference when you are doing for 2,000. There's no way you can compare actual of 2,000 to a budget of 1 unit. So you have to bring them to a leveled ground. So you also do your budget for 2,000 and you compare it to the actual of 2,000. So what we just did here was calculate the actual or the standard quantity that we are supposed to use if we had budgeted for 2,000 units. So in this case, we are going to have that'll be what's our standard quantity per unit again? I think that's 5 liters all multiplied by 2,000 units. That means we are supposed to use 10,000 liters. We are supposed to use 10,000 liters. Now, we have now flexed our budget. We've flexed it to the budget for 2,000 units. So now we can successfully compare. We want to now compare how many units did we use, or how many liters did we use? We used 10,400. We were supposed to use 10,400. So we compute our usage variance. So our usage variance is going to be, remember, SS, which is SQSP, minus ES also AQSP. So yeah, I will do a lot of editing before I send this to the group. So now our standard quantity is what we've just gotten here, and that's 10,000 liters. And according to our plan, we were supposed to get those 10,000 liters, or we are supposed to get a liter at 3 naira per liter. We're supposed to get it at 3 naira per liter. So if that is the case, then our standard price will be 3. So this time we used our actual was 10,400 liters. So we multiply by the same standard, 3 naira per liter. And if you do this, I think you should have 1,200 naira.
Advert.
And note that your variants are always in monetary value. Always convert your variance to monetary value. You want to get how much your variance is. Don't leave it in quantity. I mean, we'll get to that under fixed overhead. So now we have successfully computed the direct material price variance and the usage variance. Now to see if we are right or wrong, let's test it. So if you calculate the two variances, you have 2,400 up here, and you have 1,200 down here. So we are expected, our total variance is 3,600. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, let's do a rough calculation with our question. We said we have a standard cost per unit of 15 naira. So if we are now producing 2,000, remember our standard cost is 15 naira for one. How much are we supposed to spend for 2,000? So we can do the basic mass of 15 multiplied by 2,000. It means in total, we are expected to spend 30,000. But they now said in reality, you spent 33,600. So if you check the difference, you see you have exactly 3,600, which we have broken down here as 2,400 was due to the price difference, while 1,200 was due to the quantity difference. So that is that about material variance. I mean, we will most likely use like 4 classes to do variance analysis. Let's see how it goes. Don't know what the timetable look like. I'm not sure. Maybe we can get one extra class maybe during the weekend or so, but that'll be up for general class discussion. So let's go to the labor variance. Now, labor variance, I don't need to explain too much about labor variance. In fact, let me just group them together. Material, labor, and variable overhead has the same explanation. The only difference is that the terms we use for material, we call it quantity and we call it price. But for labor, you say hours. You don't measure human being in quantity. You cannot measure your labor in quantity. You have to say, oh, I use 2 hours for this work. I use 30 minutes. I use 10 minutes. I use 2 minutes or whatever. But it is all measured in hours. And labors are paid per hour. It's rates per hour. You don't price human being according to a PM. So that's just the difference. All the formulas are the same. We are using the same thing, the same efficiency, the same efficiency is what we call the usage, while the labor rate is what we call the price variance. We are just twisting the terms. But one thing that labor has that material does not, variable overhead does not too, is the concept of idle time. Material cannot be idle, though material can waste, which we will get to in one other day. We'll talk about when there's wastage. But labor can easily be idle. I mean, we talked about the concept of idle time in the last class. So say they can pay you for 3 hours, but of course you are not expected to be actively working for the whole 3 hours. You have time for, say, break. You have time due to maybe your office network was just down, you could not do anything, or some machine just went off, you could not do anything. All those things just to make you not actively working. That period is what we call your idle time. Now, idle time, some people might have heard that idle time variance is always negative. Now, this is to tell you that idle time can also be favorable, but it depends. If in your question they mentioned that there will be idle time, then your idle time can either be favorable or adverse if you calculate when you calculate. But if the question does not mention anything, or your budget in this case, that's what I meant by the question. If the budget does not say that, oh, labor will be free 10% of the time, or labor will be idle by 2 hours, that means when you are doing your budget, you are saying that I want to hire labor for 2 hours. They must work for that entire 2 hours. They must be actively working. That was your budget. But if you plan that, oh, I need labors of 2 hours, or I believe they should be free for like let's say 20 minutes. So that means you've already incorporated that your idle time in the budget. So in the case where the idle time is not part of the variance or your standard cost, anything you get will always be adverse, because it's something you do not plan for. It's just that you are paying your labor free money. You don't intend to pay them free money at all. But now that it has happened, you are just dashing them money. So it will always be adverse. And just as you can see it here, your idle time variance is just going to be your hours paid for minus hours worked for multiplied by your standard rate per hour. So in this case, your hours paid for is going to be the total hours that you paid your labor for. Let's say you planned to, I just need this, I just need you to work for me for 5 hours, but along the line, your internet stopped working, or MTN fucked up, or whatsoever happened, and they had to like work with you for extra. They had to work with you for like, let's say, 7 hours. But don't forget, it was not due to their fault. So you still have to pay them. You have to pay them for the 7 hours instead of the 5 hours. So that 2 extra hours that you are paying them for is an idle time variance for you. So that is why the 7 hours that you paid for will be here. Then remember, their active work hour was actually 5. So minus the hours worked for. So you are paying for 3 hours. So then you multiply by a standard rate. But assuming idle time was already included in the standard cost, so in this case, we can either have a favorable or adverse idle time. Now, how does this work? In your budget, you said, I'm going to hire labor for 5 hours, but I believe they will be fucked up along the line. Something will happen. So I'm already budgeting that these people should be free roughly 10% of the total time. It means that they should be free 0.5 hours, and you expect them to work for 4.5 hours. I mean, 10% of 5 hours is 0.5 hours, right? So they should be working 4.5 hours. But eventually, you paid for this same 5 hours, but they were idle for 1 full hour. So instead of them to be idle for 30 minutes, they were idle for an entire 1 hour. So in this case, you want to check. I plan to pay you free money for 30 minutes, but how come I pay you free money for a full hour? So in that case, you will have an adverse idle time variance, simply because they were idle more than you budgeted for. So it's just extra free money to them, and which is not going to, you are not going to be happy because you are doing the spending. But if the reverse was the case, let's say you are the budget of the same 10%, which is supposed to be 30 minutes or whatever, or 0.5 hour. But you also paid for this same 5 hours, but you realize that they were just there, they were working. The only period they had was, let's say, 5 minutes to rest. In this case, you remember you are still paying for the 5 hours, but the idle time in that 5 hours is now no longer idle, because you can now keep part of your free money. Because normally, assuming they utilize their idle time, you would have had to pay more for them to do the work that they were doing during their expected idle time. You're supposed to work for 4.5 and rest for 30 minutes, but they kept on working and working and working. In fact, they even worked for the whole 5 hours. They did not even rest. Remember, they were supposed to be resting for 30 minutes. That means the work they did within that 30 minutes that they were supposed to be resting, ideally, if what you planned had come to pass, you are going to pay them for extra 30 minutes of work. So that is why that will be favorable to you, because thank you for helping me. I know I don't have to pay you for free money. So that is how the idle time variance work. I mean, we still get to talk about all these things when we start solving question proper, because they are not, I mean, I can questions are not really questions when you are looking at them independently, until you combine all of them together. So that's that for the idle time. And like I mentioned, your labor costs is almost the same thing as, in fact, not almost, yeah, it's the same thing as your direct material cost. The direct labor is the same thing as the material price, while the labor efficiency is the same thing as your material usage. So let's just see if we have some. Okay, yeah, I can see a practice question here. So the question says, products P234 has a standard direct labor cost per unit of 0.5 hours multiplied by 12 naira per direct labor hours. So that means you are to work for 0.5 hours just to produce a unit. And for that, we are spending 12 naira per hour. So because we are spending, you are to use 0.5, it means they're paying you for half an hour, which is 6 naira per unit. But during this particular month, 3,000 units of product P234 were manufactured, and it took 1,400 hours to make. and the direct labor cost was 16,200. Oh, I'm still in class. Okay, I'm still in class. Thank God. Please, give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So we said during a particular month, 3,000 units of product, 323 were manufactured. This took 1,400 hours to make, and the direct labor cost was 16,200 now. Let me make this one for 50. I just noticed something. So one, calculate the total direct labor cost variance, the direct labor rate variance, and the direct labor efficiency variance for the month. And two, calculate the idle time variance, assuming the hours paid for was 1,450 hours. So just like I mentioned earlier, when you calculate labor rates and efficiency rates, you totally don't need to calculate your direct labor cost variance. You can just do the addition of your labor rate variance and your labor efficiency variance. You will definitely get the cost variance. So let's quickly look at the question. So the first one we are computing is the labor rate variance. So the labor rate variance. And remember, rate variance and price variance, we say we are picking the it's going to be AS minus AA. With our A here now, instead of Q and P, instead of quantity and price, we will now be doing hours multiplied by your rate. Hours rate. Or let me write it in 4. Actual hours multiplied by your standard rates. Actual hours multiplied by actual rates. Okay. So we have our complete AS minus AA. So let's quickly go back to the question and see how can we get all these figures here. So from the question, we can see that our actual hours was 1,400. Now, when you, in a question, they can put this inside the question. Let's just say they said it took 1,400 hours to make. Okay, this took 1,400 hours to make. I can go ahead and say that this took 1,400 hours to make, though labors were paid for 1,450 hours. Now, in that case, you know that you now have two different hours. How do I know which one I'm picking for the actual? I now have actual hours worked for and actual hours paid for. Now, as far as the price is concerned, you just want to know the total. Either they were working, either they were sleeping, either they were jumping, doesn't concern you. You just want to know the total. So assuming this 1,450 was in the question, we will have picked 1,450 hours as the actual hours. But since there are two different questions now, we only have one actual hour in the question, which is this 1,400. So that is what we are using. Can someone confirm you understand what I'm saying? Okay.
Can you throw more light again, sir, please?
So I was saying that, assuming, question 2 here says that we should calculate the idle time variance, assuming the hours paid for was 1,450 hours. So I was saying that the question might structure it in a way that these hours paid for that I am putting as an additional information can be in the main question itself. Say I just said this took 1,400 hours to make, though labor were paid for 1,450 hours. It means that we paid for 1,450 hours. But in that 1,450 hours, only 1,400 were used for production. So now, the formula now said that we are to use the actual hours. But the question has now given us two actual hours. We have actual hours worked for, and we have actual hours paid for. So I am saying that for rate variance, you pick the actual hours paid for, not the worked for. So assuming that this 1,450 was somewhere in the question, we could have picked 1,450 instead of 1,004, because we always pick the hours paid for. But since the question did not mention anything about hours paid for, so we will automatically assume for now that hours paid for and hours worked for are the same. So that is why we will still be picking the 1,000. That will be 1,400 hours. And our standard price, standard rates, not price now. Our standard rates is going to be our plan. And what was our plan again? We plan to be paying them 12 naira per hour. So 12 naira per hour. Um, 12 naira per. Seems like my YouTube is not active. Okay. The 12 naira per hour, then minus. So we can now go back to the same thing that I mentioned earlier, that since once you have it in total, you don't have to look for your actual per unit. Just copy and paste the figure exactly as you have it. Or if you want to calculate per unit, you can just divide 1,162 divided by 1,400, and you get your rate, your actual rate per unit, which is not necessary. So it is not necessary. Just
I don't even know what.
just to go on like that. So can someone tell me the answer that we have here? 1,400. This is 12, 12. This should be
16,800.
600, sir.
So 16,800 minus 16,2.
600. 600.
So 600. Now, is this going to be wait, no correct answer. No correct answer, please. Okay. So be sure that we are on the same page. If you think this is going to be a favorable one, raise up, raise up your hand.
Yes, it's favorable.
Let's see. Just raise up your hand. I just want to be sure that we are all on the same page. Okay, 14. Actually, if your hand is down, I'll automatically assume that you are saying it is adverse. Okay, 14. So anyway, this is going to be a favorable variance. It's going to be favorable in the sense that
Favorable. Wanted to spend 16, we end up 16.2.
It's actually meant to spend 16 and they spend 16.
yeah, but Ishmael Olashile, the 12 naira on the 12 naira was for 0.5 hours, which is less than 1 hour. Nope. The question said it is 12 naira per hour. So this 6 naira is for the 0.5. You multiply the 0.5 times 12 is how we arrive at the 6 naira. That is why I did not pick the 6 naira. I picked the 12 naira, which is for a full hour. If you are hearing me, so that's why I'm picking the 12, not the 6. So it is going to be favorable for easy comparison. I mean, I could have gone for, we were supposed to spend 16,600 or 16,800. We are spending 16,200. But the easy comparison that I like is, I just like to do it per unit. Just calculate 1,600 divide, 16,200 divided by 1,400. Can somebody quickly do a rough calculation? How much is that? 16,2 by 1,400.
18,800.
No, nope.
11.57.
11.57.
Yeah.
11.57.
11.57.
Thank you. So you are now saying that instead of us to pay 12 naira to them per hour, we pay them 11.57. So that means we are saving that's 47 kobo per hour. So in that case, it's favorable for us. We are supposed to pay you 12 naira, but we are paying 11.57. That's the savings for us. That is why it is going to be a favorable one. So the next one is going to be the efficiency.
Before the next one.
Huh?
Can I ask a question before the next one?
Oh, okay. I did not see the hand up.
And I don't understand why we did not use that 6 naira.
Now look at the question or the formula is saying standard rates per hour. I'm not using per unit. The 6 naira is for a unit. It's just like look at this direct material. You could have wondered, where is the material? Why are we not using 15 naira? Why did we eventually use 3 naira? It's the same explanation. The 6 naira here is we have already multiplied 0.5 hours by 12. That's why we have the 6 naira. But now I only need for how much I'm paying for 1 hour. Remember, I want to multiply it by the total number of hours that they used. So I cannot use 6 naira because 6 naira is only talking about 0.5 hours. Now I cannot pick the price of half to multiply 14,000 full hours. Do you understand me?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So let's go for labor efficiency. Um, so labor efficiency. Labor efficiency, which is going to be that will be S minus AS. So that will be standard hours multiplied by your standard rates minus this time actual hours multiplied by standard rates. Now, I don't know if you jotted the first one down, but remember, I said that when you are computing rates, is this not going to the edge? Correctly later. So I said when you were computing rates, you always pick the actual hours paid for, not the worked for. That is in situations where you have hours paid for and hours worked for. But for efficiency, you should use the hours worked for, not paid for. That is, we are trying to calculate how efficient were these people when they are working. We are not calculating how efficient are they throughout the stay or throughout their stay in the company. They worked for 14 hours. Were they efficient? Yes or no? That is our simple question. So the actual hours we are picking here is the hours that they worked for. So which is going to be the 1.4. Anyway, it's the same thing in this question since we don't have hours paid for. So just in case you have paid for and worked for in your question, note that paid for is for rate, while worked for is for usage. Now the difference between that paid for and worked for, that is where the idle time variance will now come in. So just chipping its head like this and say, oh, I'm here to bridge the gap between the hours paid for and the hours worked for. But as far as this question is concerned, I'm not going to that out. So for this question, we are still sticking to. Now remember, I think I mentioned something about how to scale up our was I still active when I was explaining that how to flex your budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So where was I? Now remember that the standard cost card or the standard card that we have here is telling us for a unit per unit. So it is telling us that we are supposed to use 0.5 hours just to make a unit. But now we are actually making 3,000 units. 3,000 units. So in that case, what would be our new standard hours? So we will go through the same thing that we did then. So we say standard hours will be equal to the same standard hours per unit multiply by actual total production. In that case, so our standard hours per unit, they said you are expected to use 0.5 hours, and we eventually produce 3,000 units, and that should be 1,500 hours. So here is our standard, well, our standard hours. So here's our standard hours. So what I just did here again is I have flexed my budget from per unit that we're given. I have flexed it to 3,000 units. So now I can now compare 3,000 budget and 3,000 actual. So going back to our formula. So our formula that says efficiency now will be equals to, it says standard hours. So which we said here is going to be 1,500 hours multiplied by, what's our standard rate again?
12
Our
naira.
standard rate
12
is
naira.
12, remain 12 naira. So multiplied by 12, then minus. So what was the actual total, actual hours used? They said they used 1,400 hours. So 1,400 hours were used. Still multiplied by the same standard price of 12 naira. So in this case, we are supposed to control 100 plus 1,200 naira favorable. Favorable. So favorable again because normally your labor was supposed to work for 1,500 hours in order to produce the 3,000 units that they produced. But somehow, miracle happened, and they were able to produce that 3,000 in 1,400 hours. So that means you will pay them for 1,400 hours and get what they were supposed to work for 1,500 hours to get. So they helped you to save money on 100 hours. So that is why we are going to have a 1,200 favorable, and that is for the efficiency. Now, to be able to do work back again, and this work back is just like calculating the cost variance. So 1, 2 plus 600 means that we have a favorable variance of 1,800 altogether. So coming back to our main question, we said the standard cost per unit is 6 naira per unit. And if we are producing 3,000 units, how much are we supposed to spend in total? If it will cost us 6 naira to produce one, and we are producing 3,000 units, so it means that we are supposed to spend a total of 18,000 naira. So which is multiplied by 3,000, and that's 18,000. But somehow, we were able to spend just 16,200. So if you subtract 18,000, subtract 16,200 from 18,000, you will see that we saved 1,800. And 600 was because of labor rates, because we got labor at a cheaper rate. And there's an extra one too because our labor were also very fast. They were able to do what they were supposed to do in 1,500 hours. They did it in 1,400 hours. So that is the breakdown of the cost variance. And finally, I said calculate the idle time variance, assuming hours paid for was 1,450. So in this case, there was no idle time in the budget at all. I did not mention anything like idle time in the budget. So we know that whatever we get for our idle time will always be adverse, and we'll be using the first formula. Remember, I gave two formulas. When it is not part of your standard cost, the formula is just going to be hours paid for minus hours worked for multiplied by your standard rate per hour. So in this case, I don't understand this thing, but I'll correct everything. Okay. So for number 2, YouTube is good. Okay. But I can see on YouTube, Emmanuel, maybe you should just increase your YouTube resolution or something. So we are trying to calculate idle time variance. So since idle time was not included in our budget, so our idle time is just going to be our hours paid for minus hours of for all multiplied by standard rate per hour. So in this case, okay. So our assumption is that we paid for 1,500 hours, right? I mean 1,450 hours. So minus 1,400 hours. And that will be multiplied by our same 12 naira. So what this one is just saying that even though they worked for 1,400 hours, we had to pay them 1,450. It means that the 50 on top, they were just doing nothing. They were not busy. And you remember that in my budget, I did not say these people will not do anything at all. So it means that 50 hours I'm paying, I'm just dashing them free money. And in my budget, I did not budget for any free money. So in that case, I'm going to have 600 naira advance. Yeah, 600 naira advance. That is what we are going to have. So yeah, at this junction, does anybody have any question? Because we actually like to end the class. It's 9 o'clock. There's an event, so there's another class that's supposed to hold. That's why my class was shifted to 7. But does anybody have any question?
Okay, thank you very much. Will you drop us your slide? Will you drop your slide for us so that we'll go back to it?
Yeah, I did last week, but this particular I have to hold on till, let's say, tomorrow. Kindly mute first, if I can. Okay, so as you can see, this slide was like done in a rush, so it's not complete. So I'll just send it when I have the complete one, because we are still using the same slide in the next class, because we have other variances. We have the sales variance, we have the fixed overhead variance, and then I will try to chip in the advanced variances too. So to make it, I don't want to be sending multiple aside. So maybe tomorrow, or worst case over the weekend, I will drop the complete slide.
Good evening, sir. Thanks for
Yeah,
your
good
time
evening.
and thanks for the lecture, sir. Please, I want to ask, for Thursday like this, are we going to be having your class 7 to 9? Because the timetable that was shared, it was slated 9 to 11.
Yeah, I will actually have to revert that, because if you can see, I mean, as you should have seen on my original schedule that I sent, the time that was there was 9 to 11. But I mean, there was a call to shift it to 7. I think something is supposed to come up by 9, which I don't know yet. I don't know what's exactly it is, but it's just by the way. So I don't know. I will discuss with KY to know if it's going to be 7 upward from now on, or 9. Then we can plan the time. If it's going to be 7, you have an updated timetable, or it's going to be 9. So that means it's just a one-off event. So
Okay,
but
thank
it
you.
will be communicated on the group.
All right, thanks, sir. Thanks for your time and thanks for the lecture.
For the time, for the explanation, for the energy. God bless you, sir.
So all right, we can stop the class here for now, and we will continue same time. I'm not sure it's the same time, but same channel next week.
Good night, sir. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
God bless you, sir. Good night, sir.
God bless you all.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.